Isabella was standing by the window, watching the children playing in the playground. She longed to have children of her own, but after devoting her best years to the man she'd lived with for 8 years, she realized he was a scoundrel. Ricardo was often away on long business trips, telling Isabella that they would get married and have a child as soon as he earned enough money. But those were empty promises. Unexpectedly, an unknown woman called and revealed that she had been Ricardo's wife of 14 years and was raising their 2 children. Isabella was unable to get in touch with her ex-boyfriend and he never returned to her life. A year later, Isabella decided it was time for a change. She sold the apartment she inherited from her grandmother in the capital and moved to another city. There, she bought a new apartment and looked for a job that completely satisfied her. The memories of the past hurt her heart, but Isabella reminded herself that she had decided to start over and forget what had happened before. She was sure that everything would work out. Suddenly the doorbell rang and the woman was startled. She didn't know who it could be, as she didn't know anyone in town. Isabella silently approached the door and looked through the peephole. On the other side, a young woman held a crib with a baby in it. Isabella opened the door and faced the stranger, perplexed. "Here, take the. Thank your husband. Now you create it yourself and I have to organize my own life," shouted the woman, putting the crib on the floor and entered the elevator. "Listen. There must be a mistake," Isabella said, confused, as the elevator doors closed. But the woman was already coming down. Isabella didn't know what to do. Running down the stairs was stupid and she wouldn't make it in time anyway. Moreover, all this could be a ridiculous prank. She carefully approached the crib, opened the curtain and saw the sweet face of a peacefully sleeping baby. Some papers were beside him. Isabella, picking up the crib, went back to her apartment. The first thing she did was go through the papers, in addition to the baby papers. There was a note that said, "David, take care of the baby alone, along with your crazy wife. I don't need it. A lot of responsibility comes with giving birth to him. Don't you dare look for me." Isabella looked at the baby and wondered what to do with him next. At first, she thought that fate had finally given her a gift and opportunity to become a mother. However, she then realized that the child had a biological father and it would be wrong not to try to find him. She took the phone to call the police. But then he realized how difficult the situation would be for the baby. She decided to try to find her father on her own until he was located. But first, it was urgent to resolve the issue of feeding and hygiene while the baby was sleeping. Isabella went to the store to buy everything she needed. Luckily, it was only a minute's walk from her house. After securing the bed with chairs and placing pillows and blankets around it, Isabella grabbed her purse and ran out of the house. At the store, she quickly grabbed diapers, bottles and food, as well as a few sets of baby clothes. She hurried to the cash register, hoping they'd let her pay without having to queue. Luckily, she was able to pay it off quickly and got back home as quickly as she could. When she returned, the baby was still sleeping and Isabella calmed down. She quickly prepared the formula for the baby's next feeding. Isabella was feeding the baby and letting the bottle cool when suddenly, the child started crying and fussing. Unfortunately, Isabella smiled as she looked at the baby's unhappy face and immediately changed his diaper and dressed him in new, clean clothes. After the boy ate, luckily he fell asleep again and Isabella began to think about how she could find the child's father. She remembered hearing the woman who sold the apartment mention that she was planning to divorce him. So Isabella decided to call this woman named Amanda to get more information. Isabella dialed Amanda's number and explained that she needed to know if her husband's name was David. Amanda confirmed that was his name and made a joke, implying that Isabella was interested in him. Isabella tried to explain that she needed David's phone number to contact him about the baby, but Amanda was rude and hung up the phone. Isabella was paralyzed and frustrated by Amanda's response. In shock, she wouldn't be able to reveal to that woman about her husband's son. Isabella wondered who else would know David's phone number and decided to go to the neighbors. However, no one answered the door. Then she remembered that she had some letters from the apartment's previous owner. She picked up a pile of mail and found only one letter addressed to David. It was an official response to a request made to the internet service provider and it contained David's cell number. Isabella called immediately and, hearing the pleasant and soft voice of a man on the other end of the line, told him the whole story of the baby. Oh, the man looked confused but still promised to attend. A short time later, the doorbell rang and it was David. He was excited and asked to see all of the baby's documents. After taking a look, he threw himself wearily on the couch and put his arms around his head, saying that he didn't know that woman and that he never had children out of wedlock. He explained that it was always Amanda who was insanely jealous and suspected he attracted her for no reason. I couldn't convince her otherwise, and the man also stated that he always really wanted to have children. After Isabella's call, he was almost crazy. Of course, he knew this was incredible and it couldn't be true. But there was little hope for a miracle. They stayed there a little longer, had coffee, and David called the police. When the police arrived, they took a statement from Isabella and called an ambulance crew, who took the baby to the hospital for an examination. Davi stayed a little longer, they had another coffee, then he left too. Isabella was incredibly sad. She had managed to get attached to the baby, and most of all, she wanted to hold him. Now, a few days later, she couldn't take it anymore and went to the police to see if the baby's father had been found. At the police station, she was informed that they had found the mother of the child who was named after the father, but unfortunately, he had moved to another country a long time ago and had also rejected his son. Isabella started to cry and the policeman tried to calm her down, assuring her that the orphanage would take good care of the baby. Finally, Isabella dried her tears and, without hesitation, went to the orphanage. When the director of the orphanage found out which baby Isabella would like to adopt, she was shocked. Yesterday, they were preparing documents for the adoption of the child that Isabella wanted. The woman suggested that she choose another child, but Isabella did not give up. She believed that the boy was her destiny and was not willing to give up easily. Suddenly, David arrived. The man who wanted to adopt the child. The director explained that another woman was also interested in the same child. Davi approached Isabella and proposed that they adopt a boy together, as long as she married him. Isabella agreed and 7 years later, they had 2 daughters together. They always remember how fate brought them together. Isabella's story demonstrates the courage and determination to deal with unexpected and difficult situations. She didn't let the bad events of the past stop her from moving forward, and didn't hesitate to take on extra and unfamiliar responsibilities. His attitude shows that even in the worst of circumstances, we can find the strength and courage to move forward and overcome our fears and uncertainties. If you like this story, leave your opinion here in the comments and of course, leave your like and subscribe.